All right, we are back. It has been a while and a lot has happened. I think it's unfortunately been about 6 months since the last episode, hasn't it?
I think the last one was in March. I think so. What is that? Yeah, it's
Jeez.
coming. Yeah, right up to 5 months, something like that. Been way too long.
Yeah, I know. A lot has happened. Many things to get into, but for anyone who's a first-time listener, I'm a freelance touring crew guy. My name's Steven, and I'm here with Logan, who is also a booking agent in the music industry and also the host of his own show called The Logan Show. And I started this podcast earlier this year to talk about everything related to touring, to share my experiences, talk about current events, and really just anything related to the music industry. So if you like what you hear, you can check out the first 3 episodes that we have out already from earlier this year. You can listen on all streaming platforms, and you can also watch the video version on YouTube. So Logan, what have you been up to, man? It looks like you might have gotten some sun from a little vacation you took. Is that right?
Yeah, we were down in Panama City Beach for like a week, me and the family, and man, I'll tell you, it's. I mean, I live in Ohio, so I'm not used to that heat, but fuck, man, you get down to Florida, and I mean, it hits in a totally different way. You can't be outside for more than 5 minutes without. I mean, just it's insane, man. But no, it's cool. We had a beach house, and we didn't even leave the beach house except for twice. You know, we went to the beach one time for like 30 minutes, went and got some oysters, and the rest of it was in the pool on the patio. Man, it was awesome.
Yeah, Florida is it's different out there, man. I mean, I live in Texas and it's hot everywhere, but when you get to Florida, the humidity really just messes everything up even more. I mean, it's just ridiculously hot. So it's always just like you're sweating way more out there in Florida just because of the humidity. And I remember one of the worst days I've had on tour was last year in Florida because it was raining, it was humid. I had pallets that were getting soaked. I was trying to find a forklift driver, and these pallets of merch are just getting soaked on, and not good experiences there. But yeah, man, I'm glad you got a little getaway, man. I need to do the same thing myself, but you had to take a little break from TikTok when you were out there, and you're just crushing it out there, aren't you, man? Went from what, like 200 followers to 10,000 in a matter of like a month.
Yeah, it was about yeah, probably a little over 2 months, but yeah, man, it's just been crazy with all the Lincoln Park stuff and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's the big news obviously helps, but yeah, it's been doing great. I mean, I was yeah like a week ago I was at like 5,000 and I'm already at about 11,000 today. So yeah, it's been great, man. It's been awesome.
Yeah, that was a quick growth for sure, man. And I remember, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when I mean, I still absolutely do hate TikTok, but you can't just argue with the power that it has. And I remember I created a TikTok account, and a lot of people have found both of our shows through TikTok, and I just can't argue with that. And I spend some time on there, but you got to be careful. I mean, it's like you just feel dumber the more the more time you spend on there, man. It's just different
Fries
people
your
out there.
brain.
Oh, absolutely, man. And yeah, if you haven't seen Logan's videos, check it out at it's a real Logan show on TikTok and everywhere, right?
The, yeah, out real Logan show everywhere.
Yeah. So I mean, you gained a lot of followers really quick, but I mean, yeah, man, it's been great to see, and I hope the momentum keeps going. But yeah, a lot has happened since we did the last episode. I mean, first of all, I've moved, even though it looks exactly the same in here. I mean, you would never know the difference, but the framing might be slightly different because this room is like a foot bigger. But yeah, I moved, and I knew that was going to derail any momentum I had going with this podcast, and it sure did, man. And then right before the move, I went on tour. We did the tour with Daughtry and Catch Your Breath, and then I've done a few random fairs with Breaking Ben. I've done Incarceration, and this year has just flown by, man. And it just feels like every year, the last 3 or 4 years have just flown by. Like everything post pandemic is just feels like a year is about 6 months, man. And that's just kind of what's happening this year. From the last episode till now, it feels like it's been 2 months, but it's really been like 5 or 6.
No, time just flies, and I got two kids in school, and summer break just ended, and I'm like, Jesus, I can't. It feels like summer just started, and now it's already over. But no, back to your background. I mean, obviously, I knew that you moved. You told me and all that, but when we jumped on here, I'm like, I wasn't even thinking about it. That's how close it looks. Once this is up, I'm gonna do a side by side. You should do a side by side of an old clip and then this one. I mean, it looks identical, dude. It's insane.
Yeah, I basically did a copy and paste on the entire thing. The only thing that's slightly different is I chose a different paint color. It's like a slartly. It's like a slightly darker gray. I mean, and really now that I'm here, you really can't even tell that it's even a darker gray. But yeah, I went with a darker gray. But everything from the records behind me to the laminates, every single photo, the shelves, the desk, everything's identical. Literally, I when I was looking for a new place to live, I made sure that there was a room in here that had two walls back to back so I could have this exact setup because it took a long time to put things in place and we spent a lot of money on the setup and everything and I was like, I don't want to I only had it for like a year before this and only a handful of episodes. I was like, I don't want to, find a new place and have to reconfigure everything and spend more money on this and that because it doesn't work. So I made sure there was a room in here that had a very similar setup. So yeah, you really can't even tell the difference. But yeah, that last tour I did with Breaking Benjamin, Daughtry, Catch Your Breath was one of the most stressful tours I've ever done, and it really has nothing to do with the tour itself. It's just that I was in, such a tough situation. To make a long story short, I was in between leases, and I was having a hard time securing a new place, and it was just like when I finally did, I had literally 5 days when I got home to pack up, move, and clean the place and everything, and it was just beyond stressful. But I got it done, and I'm here now, and but yeah, we're back and we're making episodes again, and hopefully I can start booking some more guests here soon. I'm glad all that's over with, but thanks to Aaron Breaking Benjamin for constantly asking me when we're doing another episode because every time I talk to him, man, he's just like, "Go make another episode, man. We're wondering when the next episode's coming out, man." So honestly, him pushing me like that has definitely been a help. But yeah, the last tour we did first day of the show of the tour, I walk in and I see him there, and like that's like the first thing he says. He's just like, "Oh man, I heard the podcast, dude," and I just felt like my face turned so red because like that's part of the reason that I didn't want to do these things is like you want to put stuff out there, but there's just certain people you're just like more nervous about hearing what you have to say than others. So it's the first thing he says. He's like, "How you been, man? I heard the podcast." And I'm like, "Oh my God, dude." Like it just made me freak out. But at the same time, I mean, everyone's been super supportive and really encouraging me to do that. So I'm glad he has been bugging me because it really pushed me to do more episodes.
Yeah, well, hopefully this will continue, and I know you're gonna be back out on the road with him in a couple weeks. So, Aaron, keep pushing him because he needs it.
Yeah, seriously, man. I am gonna try to keep this going on the road. I mean, I say that every tour, but geez, it's hopefully I've got it dialed in enough to where I can actually, do some editing on the days off. We don't have as many days off on this next one. Where the tour we're talking about is the upcoming tour with Stained. It's a co-headliner with Daughtry direct support again, and then Lakeview opening. So we have a lot less days off on this tour coming up. So we'll have to see if I can get some videos done, some vlogs, and then also some podcast episodes as well during that tour.
Yeah, that the tour, the Breaking Ben Stain tour, it's a co-headliner. I know, but who's closing, or is it going to be a rotating every night thing between Breaking Ben and Stained?
So from what I've been told, it's going to be 50-50, but it's not alternating or anything. It's going to be where Stain closes the first half, and then right around, I think, October 1st is when things flip-flop, and then Breaking Benjamin will be closing the tour for the second half. So I think that's easier for everybody, and I think that's why they did it rather than, every other night one band closes. I think that's a lot more work and makes a lot more changes happen, for things having to switch around every single day or every single show. So I think that's just going to be easier that way. But yeah, it is a co-headliner. Everything's co-build, co-headlining, and same amount of merch, same everything. But yeah, Stained will be closing. If you see the tour in the first half, Stained will be closing, and then Breaking Ben on the second half.
Yeah, I think I'm coming out to the first show of the tour, I believe it is. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, first show, he's like, guest list me, first show. It's like, oh
That's
man.
right.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, a lot's happened since the last episode, and I did do Rockville, but I didn't really get much footage of that. I did manage to get a full video's worth of footage for Incarceration, though. So if you want to check that out, I have a Geez, it's like an hour-long video, full day at incarceration on the YouTube channel, so I'll put that in the description if you wanna check that out. But, in order to, do that weekend, I did have to, make a decision. I had tickets to that, Lamb of God Mastodon tour, the Ashes of the Leviathan that I bought back in, like, I don't know, February or something, and I had these plans to go with my brother, and, I wasn't planning on being there with Breaking Benjamin. Like, I think, every time they've done festivals in the past, I just haven't been there because everything's like you typically ship merch in, ship merch out. You don't really need to be there. The festival takes care of everything. But anyway, I get notified that I'm, supposed to be there, and I'm like, "Oh shit, man!" Like I had these tickets, and I wanted to go, but I was just like, "Well, everyone could always use the money." So I was just like, "And I get to go to incarceration and check out Chimera and all sorts of things," and I just had to make a decision, but um, I don't go to shows very often, so they can be kind of special when you're actually buying tickets to something. I actually bought tickets to that, and all of this led me to the topic of this episode, and which is what we're talking about is tours that we may never see again. And that Ashes of Leviathan tour was 20 years, celebrating 20 years of both, the records from Lamb of God and Mastodon, and I had to miss out on it. And Ashes of the Wake was, a monumental record and something I grew up on. And yeah, that's just one of those tours that you may never see again because when's it going to be again that they're going to play that, the entire album again? And it's something I had to give up, but that's just something that comes with touring.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with those anniversary tours. It's like, it's a one-time only thing, and if you miss it, you miss it. I was going to go see Slipknot on their 25th anniversary tour that they're, I think, about to fire up the second leg here this weekend or something. But I was going to go to that show at the same venue I'm going to see you with Breaking Ben and staying in a couple weeks, and I got sick, and it was right before the Florida trip and all that. And I mean, for a fact that they're once the second leg of that is done, and then they do it over in Europe. I mean, they're never going to do that again. And with that Lamb of God tour, to me, I mean, it would have been cool to see Lamb of God and Mastodon do those albums, but to me, the highlight would have been seeing Kerry King on his first tour.
I don't know if I would have cared too much about that one, but that was a big deal at the time. Either way, that was a great first tour for him, for sure. And Unearth was on a couple of those shows. Unfortunately, only like two of them, but yeah, that was a killer tour. I missed out, and it just I don't know, it just crushed me to. My brother went by himself, and that just kind of crushed me to.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's not like and I guess I can see it both ways. It's like I can see him not wanting to go without me, and then I can see him. Well, it's like if I don't go, I mean, he might not get this chance again to see this, and probably won't. So he went. It's like a 3-hour drive to Austin for where he's from, and that made me feel even shittier. That I was just like, damn, dude. Especially because we were doing a fair that same day. I don't remember where the fair was, but it was a rough day. That's all I can say is it was just a rough day. I mean, it was huge Breaking Benjamin show. There was multiple, merch stands, and it was just a lot going on, a lot of people involved, a lot of local sellers, and I was just having a really rough day. And it's like, I'm missing out on this concert. And yeah, it's just a concert, but I mean, there's very few shows that I go to that I feel are worth going to and spending money and doing all that because I've been touring for so long that things get kind of diluted to the point that you're just kind of like, well, it's just not the same anymore. Things aren't as special. So it was a bummer, but I mean, yeah, I may never see that tour again. And that goes for a lot of things. And yeah, when I say tours that we may never see again, it's mainly talking about anniversary tours because those are kind of the ones that are special. People aren't really doing anything special unless it's an anniversary. But I don't know. They've been doing them for like 10 or 15 years now because it's 10-year anniversaries, then 15, then 20, then 25. Some bands even 30. So I'm not sure if it's because bands want to do it or because it's the easy thing to do. I don't know how you feel about that. I just feel like every band has an anniversary tour or is capable of doing one at this point. Even the newest bands feel like they're at least 10 years old.
Yeah, I mean it's everybody doing it, and I think for one, yeah, it is easy. I think to do, especially when if you're doing the anniversary of a huge record. I mean, your sets are already comprised of 4 or 5 songs from whatever big album it is. So all you're really doing is just adding a few more in. But it's also, I mean, it's a huge cash cow, you know, just like these fake farewell tours. You know, it's everybody's on an anniversary tour, everybody's doing a farewell tour because they just make stupid amounts of money. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's insane how much money these things can bring in, even though, you know, by now people are so that they're so aware of what's happening. Like they know that when so-and-so says it's a farewell tour, they know that's not actually true, but we're all just a bunch of suckers who buy into it, you know, but no, you know, I think it's cool. Especially, you know, if they, you know, with Slipknot, for example, just playing the first album, you know, and I did a video talking about this a little bit on my channel. I do think it's kind of, in one way, it's pretty cool that they only played that first album and that's it. But at the same time, I do think, you know, you could also throw in, you know, that their set is pretty short. It was like an hour. And I do think, you know, throw in some other hits too. You don't have to just play the album unless the album's an hour and a half, which it's normally not. It's normally 45 to 60 minutes. So it can be a pretty short set for a headliner, charging probably $150 to only see them play for an hour. But nonetheless, it is a cool concept for sure.
Yeah, I think the whole concept can be a little low effort. Like, I think it's just kind of like, I don't know, some bands instead of writing a new album, they just do an anniversary tour, or some bands instead of doing anything creative, it's just like, well, that anniversary's coming up. I guess we could just do that. You know, everybody else is doing it. But it is a bit of the same format where, like you were talking about, they play the album in its entirety, you know, for the first hour or so, and then they play a few extra hits, and that's kind of how they close out the show. I think Lamb of God did the same thing and closed out with Redneck, and it's like, who wants to hear that song anymore? Jesus. I mean, but you know, they bring
Probably
back the
70% of the audience.
that's the, yeah, that's true, and that's kind of man, yeah. Anyway, they bring back the old merch designs. It's kind of like the same formula, you know. But I mean, what I had notes here about Slipknot too, and it's just like, damn, dude, like exactly what you were saying. I love that they didn't do that. I love that they didn't, because I mean, people are in the comments of these things are just complaining and whining and bitching about like, man, I didn't get to hear no, like no psychosocial. And it's like, bro, 15 years you've been hearing that song, like, you know, just about. And if not, like, come on, dude, like, how many times a Slipknot tour, you know, very often, you know, at least a couple times every, you know, year or two. They're always, I feel like they're here enough to where you've seen them play Psychosocial and Duality and all those songs. Like, this is a special tour. Like, and they were very, very bold move to close with Scissors, bold move to play the entire album and nothing but. And they just did it the right way, you know. That they took it like a whole step further, and you know, and it makes me wonder how long they've been planning that whole thing with Eloy. Like, they could have known for a year now, maybe longer than a year. Like, we've got this anniversary coming up. We want to do it right. These songs need to be done justice and played right. And not only did they get Eloy, they got, you know, the red jumpsuits. They got, you know, very nostalgic masks, and they just did it right. They played almost every single song except for Diluted, which is one of my favorite songs, but I believe Corey says that song's too personal for him or something like that. Don't really know the whole story, but I know they didn't play Diluted. But I just think they did it the right way. I'm so happy that, like, I don't know, they kind of just didn't play all those hits. I just don't think now is the time for that. I get it, like, a lot of their audience, maybe the majority of the audience is, you know, those fans that probably don't even know the first album. But I don't know, man. I love Slipknot even more for doing that, for just, you know, playing the whole album, leaving with Scissors, and just walking off the stage, man. Pissed off or not, dude, that was the right move, and I'm glad they did it.
No, dude, it takes some mega balls to do that. And I think, yeah, what it really comes down to is if you are going to do something like that, I think, you know, in one way, it's like, yeah, maybe you should play some of the hits to appease probably a majority of the fans. But at the same time, it really is like a tour for diehards because, you know, off that album, if they were just doing a regular tour, they probably play, I don't know what, Sick, Wait and Bleed, and Surfacing maybe, and maybe Eyeless, and that's probably it. So a majority of it they don't ever play. So it really is, for the diehards. And one thing, not to stay on the Slipknot train too long, but when I did my video on it, I found out that a couple of those songs weren't originally on the first album. Is that right? They ended up like they were originally going to be on it, then they weren't, and then they showed up on the 10th anniversary editions. I think like Purity was one of them, and there was one other one which I found interesting. I did not know that.
Purity and Frail and Nursery. So before any anniversary tour or I mean album or anything like that, what happened from I haven't looked this up in a long time, but they released those two songs on the first, release of the CD, and apparently some kind of legal activity happened
It was
because
like a copyright thing. That's right.
yeah, because of what the songs were about or something like that. So they had to re-release it, and they released it with Me Inside and Tattered and Torn. And yeah, so I mean, the fact that they're still playing those songs even now after all these years, I mean, that's a great move for like you said for the diehards.
Yeah, 1,000%. I'm really. It's a shorter tour, and yeah, I'm definitely bummed I missed that one for sure. That was definitely one of the big ones I wanted to see this year.
Yep, and yeah, I mean, I'll unfortunately be missing that one as well. They're coming to Austin, but I'll be on tour already by then. And that's just happened so many times over the years. And these tours can be real nostalgic, and depending on what band it is and where they're at in their career, sometimes they haven't put out a good record in 15 to 20 years, so people are excited to hear these songs that made them a fan in the beginning. And it really makes it hard to miss these when it's just tours that, I mean, there's not going to be another opportunity. I'm hoping that Slipknot comes back next year and does another leg, but whether they do or not, I don't know. But I've some of these bands won't even be around long enough to do another one of these anniversary tours. What are they going to wait another 10 years and do a 30th anniversary? 5 years is too soon. 10 years is too long. You're kind of in a weird spot there. But I missed Korn's self-titled tour, like the 20th anniversary. That was years ago. That was probably, I don't even remember. I missed, the Lamb of God one. I missed Dream Theater's Scenes from a Memory anniversary tour. And it's just many, many tours that I've missed. And, you just gotta, for me, it's work, touring is work. So it's not like I can call in sick for the day. I mean, geez, I'm in another state or something, but yeah, it makes it hard, man. It really does. I mean, touring has definitely made me miss some things, but geez, I mean, I guess I'd rather be missing shows than some, I don't know, family life events or something. I miss those as well, but yeah, I just got to make a compromise.
Well, and if I recall, probably one of the biggest shows that you've missed due to touring is was Rammstein a couple years ago. Then you have to sell your tickets for that.
Man, that one, yeah, that one went so back and forth. That was, COVID times, and it got rescheduled and rescheduled and rescheduled. And I think I don't remember if I was touring or not. I might have been, but I think I just decided I'm just going to sell these things because I'm tired of them being rescheduled. And I think either way, whatever the reason was, it was just like I think it had been rescheduled 2 or 3 times already, and I just ended up selling them. But yeah, I definitely missed out on that one as well.
No, that's a real bummer because I don't think they come here very often. And if I remember right, wasn't that, I mean, it was a tour, quote unquote, but wasn't it only like 6 shows or something that they were doing all over the States? It was just a handful of stadiums, and that was it.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't very many. I think it was like I think a show that big, you need a day or two for load in, day or two for load out. I don't know because I've never done a stadium tour, but yeah, I don't think it was more than like 2 shows a week or something. So yeah, I never got to see him. The last time I saw him was probably, geez, I don't know, 2001. With Slipknot actually. The Pledge of Allegiance tour. I don't think I've ever seen him any other time than that. But yeah, I mean, I think those tickets cost me, I don't remember, like 250 each or something. I don't remember, but that leads me to a point too, is that another reason that you might not, see these shows, whether it be, a scheduling conflict, is that can even people even afford to go to these shows? You've got $100+ tickets, you've got, $40 to $50 t-shirts, $100 hoodies or $85 hoodies or whatever they are, and everything. And it's not even just the concert prices. It's like, freaking loaf of bread is $4, man. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like, I mean, it's just ridiculous right now. So it's like some people can't afford to go see the 20th anniversary of damn near every band that ever existed. It's just, geez, you're spending, $200 per person per show minimum if you want to buy a ticket and buy a shirt.
Well, yeah, and especially coming out of the pandemic. I mean, it's been this way ever since things went back to normal. It's every band ever is just always on tour. I mean, so now it's like there was already a lot of options to choose from, but now it's like you have 1,000 different shows coming near you every single month. And when people are struggling to pay car payments or whatever, I mean, the last thing that they can afford is to buy 30 concert tickets, and for a lot of people going to a concert, it's a big deal. I think it's certainly less of a bigger deal to people like us who've been around it, especially you who, I mean, you work 150 shows a year or whatever. But, so when you're around it, I guess it takes away, maybe the magic and the excitement a little bit. But for most people, going to concerts is a huge deal. And now everything is absurdly expensive, right down to concert tickets, and then you tack on the fees on top, and it's insane. My fiance's mom always talks about back in the day going to a show and being able to get everything for $20, and now you can't even park your car for $20. Like we were talking about the other day. It's terrible.
Yeah, no, it is true, man. And like, I'm at that age. I just turned 36, and it's like I cannot believe I'm that old. But it is true. I mean, I remember the most expensive show you could go to, and like when I was like in high school or just out of high school was like $45 maybe was like the max, like 50 max. And I'm talking like Rob Zombie level concerts, like Slipknot, Rob Zombie, like anything. I'm from Corpus, so like Concrete Street Amphitheater, that's where we'd go see our shows. And like $50 was like, that's the most you're gonna pay. There was no VIP experience. There was no, the barricades got this special, pit section that you got to pay an extra $25, $50 for. And it's just like, dude, it was simple back then, man. It was like GA tickets, $50. You get in, you fight your way to the front, and it's like that's just the end of it. Now it's just like upselling you on everything, man, and it's just ridiculous. It's like there was fees back then too. There was Ticketmaster fees. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it was nothing compared to what it is now, man. You got to pay a fee for everything, and it's just like the tickets, the parking, the shirts, the beer, the food, whatever you want to do. It's ridiculous, man. So yeah, I don't know. I feel for the fans, man. And I've worked for bands who, I worked for Static X last year, and we're in theaters, and we're selling $40 shirts. That was another thing too. Shirts used to only be, they were $40 back then, but they were for like arena level tours. I think Slipknot shirts were 35 or 40, back in like 2001. But it's ridiculous, man. I really do feel for the fans, and it's interesting to see both perspectives of this, being a fan and also working in the industry.
Well, and this is before both of our times, but the other day I saw a concert calendar from an amphitheater, Blossom Music Center, where I've been to a bunch of shows at, and it was a concert calendar from like, I don't know, July of 1987, I think. And so it listed all the concerts and their prices for the lawn and for the pavilion. And it was, huge tours like Aerosmith and things like that. And it said, I remember it was Aerosmith, lawn, $11, pavilion, $14. And I'm just like, my God, man, that is just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Insane. But I remember, Kid Rock, I think, did a tour like 10 years ago where every ticket was $20, if I recall. This was probably about 10, 12 years ago or something. And it was a shed tour, and every ticket was $20. Which was cool. And I think he even put a cap on the price of beer too. Like they couldn't sell beer for more than $8 or $10 or something like that. Which is pretty cool. And these past few years, especially in the wake of all that Taylor Swift stuff on Ticketmaster last year when she announced that Eras tour, there's been some artists that have fought against the pricing and the fees, and then they started doing that dynamic pricing, Ticketmaster for some shows where the price fluctuates, which is ridiculous. I mean, dynamic pricing is so stupid. And I think they ditched the idea, but not that long ago, I remember seeing even fast food places were going to start doing dynamic pricing. Where rush hour comes and they're going to start jacking the price up, and it's like, dude, that's so stupid, And now you see, I mean, the tables have turned because all over the news is all these restaurants now doing $5 meals because everybody's complaining. So,
Or
hopefully we'll see that with concerts, but it's crazy. And I haven't heard much about the dynamic pricing. And to be fair, most of the shows I go to, I'm not going to see Taylor Swift or whatever crazy hot tour of the year. That's not what I don't have to deal with that. You know what I mean? But it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to the fans.
yeah, I think it was Wendy's that was going to pull that crap.
Yes. Yeah, dude.
Dude,
I mean, that is just absurd.
the amount of memes and outrage, and rightfully so, man. You can only push people so far, man. Like, look at all the crap that we've been through in like the last 4 years, man. Like, people just are gonna reach a breaking point, dude. Like, how? I'm serious, man. Like, the grocery store, good lord, dude. I'm serious. $4 for a loaf of bread, and that's the only point of reference I have. But there's plenty of point of references for the prices of groceries. But like,
There for a while, it was $6 for a carton of eggs. It's
right.
it's ridiculous,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
No, I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right. I remember there was so many memes about that. Like, people were negotiating deals with eggs. Be like, I got,
Yeah.
I
Let me
got
call
eggs.
my egg dealer.
Yeah, dude. Hey, man, I'll trade you these 6 dozen for those Slipknot tickets you got, man.
Yeah, that's right. This yolk is pure. Come
Yeah,
on.
dude, I forgot about that. It's like, dude, it feels like, I don't know, man. It really does feel like we are living in the damn Black Mirror episode, because like it's like every 3 to 4 months, like, like almost quarterly, like some kind of crazy shit happens in this world where it's just like, well, that's just it's just where we're at right now, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like this movement, like the egg movement. It's like, I don't know, like maybe movement's not the right word, but you know what I mean? Like, we're in this phase of just like, well, here's what's going on now, and then you move on in a few months, and it's just now we're focused on this, and it's just feels like it's never ending, But I mean, yeah, what was it?
Well, and let me jump in here real quick. Well, when all that stuff happens and the economy gets so crazy, it affects the touring industry. It affects it affects you. It affects me because people aren't buying tickets, and so you see a lot of tours getting canceled now. I mean, most bands aren't honest about it, but a lot of people aren't buying tickets. And that band Helmet last week had to cancel their tour, and they were at least they had the balls to come out and say, "Hey, we're not selling the tickets that we thought we were going to be able to sell." The
Right.
Helmet and Local H tour, which, to be fair, I do feel like I'm not a Helmet expert, but I feel like the Helmet Local H thing has happened quite a few times. But um, it's like at least they came out and said, "Hey, we're not selling enough tickets," and maybe they should have done an anniversary tour. Perhaps they would have sold more. But it affects everything, and people oftentimes forget about the entertainment industry because just they never think about it. But it affects that too, down to from agents and crew guys down to the band members themselves.
Maybe Local H didn't have a monumental record. I mean, they didn't have anything to do an anniversary tour for. But maybe they would have done it by now. But it did get me thinking about when I was going through the bands that have done it recently. Like, it made me think about, I just worked for Hatebreed recently a few years ago. I have a video on that too if you guys want to check that out. We just
A
did
few
like,
months ago, not a few years ago.
wow, did I say a few years, dude? I can't keep track of time. Yeah, a few months ago. Just a few months ago, I did a video on that. Did a show for Hatebreed here in Austin, just like a one-off festival thing. But they're doing, for like this year and last year, I can't remember when it started. They're doing they're not really doing an anniversary album. They're just doing like 30 years of Hatebreed, and it made me think. I was like, well, if they were to do an anniversary tour, I mean, for like an album, that album would be over in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
they'd have to do like They'd have to do like an anniversary for like 4 albums, because the Hatebreed
Right.
songs are like a minute.
Yeah, they'd still only at 4 albums, and they'd still only be 45 minutes in.
Yep, dude. I mean, one time I saw Hatebreed play in 2015. Whenever I was on one of my first tours, and like I kept one of the set lists, and it was literally like a handwritten like page, and it must have had like 30 songs on there, and they didn't play every single one, but that's how they do it, and I guess that's how they've done it forever. And it's like, I don't know how these guys just, they've got to know all these songs, but like Jamie will call them out like in the middle of the set, and just like he'll just decide what he's feeling or whatever, and it's just crazy. But yeah, it's like they can probably play 25 songs in a standard set length, for them, maybe more, maybe 30, yeah. But yeah, I mean, they wouldn't be able to do like an anniversary tour. I mean, they could, but then they'd have to play like, yeah, like an extra hour's worth of material just just to fill the time.
No, well, now that I'm thinking about it real quick, just jumping back to Local H. Do you remember a few years ago when Metallica did that contest? I think Shattered Sun, who you and I both have some history with, were in that contest to open for Metallica. It was some like quote unquote local band type of thing, and wasn't Local H the band that won? It was just so fucked up. That band's been around for like 30 years, or at that time probably 25 years or something.
Yeah, that was a competition, contest, whatever you want to call it, for I think it was supposed to be for unsigned bands. And
Mm.
I think that's what it was supposed to be. But I think that was the criteria. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was that was what people had a problem with, is that like it was supposed to be unsigned bands, yet Local H is there participating with like a bunch of locals. And it's just like, I mean, it's in their name, but that doesn't mean they're a local. You know what I mean?
Obviously, they got the fan base, and these local bands don't.
Right. And it just doesn't, it's just not fair. But that band Mothership, I actually toured with them a couple of years later in
Mm.
2019 with Overkill. And yeah, it was like this nasty competition that it got, things just got ridiculous because people were so desperate to have something like that, because they were supposed to pay for like everything. It was supposed to be like a bus was covered, like all travel, food, and all these promises that weren't met. And it's just like, I don't know how things like that just happen without like, people actually coming through with them. But yeah, Local H ends up winning the thing. And it was to the point where people were actually cheating. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, some people got to the point, we found out that they were like hacking, like they were literally hiring hackers to like hack this website and make their counts go up.
Oh
And
my god!
I'm not even kidding you, man. And honestly, Shattered Sun had to play hardball and do the same thing. And they were like, "Well, dude, we can't lose this. Like, hire a hacker, dude. Let's let's get on it." And the whoever was hosting the competition, whatever, got wind of it, and they did it to where they were hiding the counts, because before you could go on there and see, Local H has this many votes, Shattered Sun this many, Mothership, and then they found out about everybody cheating, and they just hid all the views, so you couldn't see who was winning or anything. They hid like the progress bars, so you could only go in there and vote. The thing ends. Local H wins it, and Marcus actually ended up going up and doing a song with them, and just
Oh,
awkward,
he
man.
did?
Yeah, at the San Antonio show, I think they played the Alamo Dome. There's pictures that he met Lars and everything. Um,
What? I had no idea. That's insane.
Dude, it's been so long, and I've done so many things with this band that I don't even remember what year it was. I don't remember if it was before I started touring or after. There's just been so much history with this band. But yeah, I mean, Marcus goes up and does a song with Local H. I don't remember which song. I know he met Lars. I don't think he met anybody else, but he's got photos of it. And it's just such a bummer that like people just don't hold true to what they say or what they promise. And I don't know. I don't even think Local H got everything that they were supposed to. And I think from, don't misquote, I don't want to misquote anybody, but I do remember Marcus saying that he asked one of the guys from Local H, like, what happened, with like the tour bus and all the travel and everything covered. And I think one of the guy was just like, you know how it is, man. He was like, we were never going to get that. And that's all I remember from the whole thing.
Wow. Well, it's crazy because I thought maybe they had a good chance because for those that don't know, Shattered Sun had a relationship with Johnny Z, who was the guy responsible for Metallica. So I was hoping that would help him, but obviously it didn't. But that's an insane story. I did not know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think maybe the Johnny Z thing. That's why I said I can't remember if it was before or after. I think it might have been after that they had the touring and the record label and the management and all that stuff. But either way, I think maybe it would have been worth it. But people would have been saying, they only got it because of Johnny Z and all that stuff.
Sure, sure.
But either way, they didn't get it. But yeah, another show that what I was going to say earlier about talking about the prices of everything is that like. I work with a band who plays arenas and plays, amphitheaters. And, they get my opinion on stuff sometimes, not all the time, but I always try to look at it from the fan perspective of like, well, geez, man, these people are paying $100 a ticket minimum most of the time, unless you want to be like, excuse me, like on the lawn or something. Some of these places have the lawn, you can maybe get it for 30 to $50. But if you want to be in a seat, it's like $80, $100. If you want to be like in the front row of that section, Ticketmaster's got these official platinum where it's like $350, where it's like it's not even a resale ticket. It's just, they don't have the dynamic pricing maybe, but they still have the like, well, you're front row center in a seat and it's official platinum, it's 350. So it's just like then people can resell their tickets on top of that. I don't know if people realize, some people, I feel bad because they're a little naive and sometimes they just don't know that like they're buying a resale ticket. But a few years ago, Ticketmaster started a thing where I guess to cut out, StubHub and all that stuff, they have this thing where you can resell your tickets on their own website, and they get the cut rather than StubHub or whatever. So sometimes people don't realize what they're buying, and then on top of that, there's VIP packages galore, and that's another confusing thing. And this was like 20 years ago, like we were talking about, things were just a lot simpler. Either there was a meet and greet or there wasn't. And now there's like a VIP package for like everything. So sometimes what happens is like people buy the venue VIP and think that they bought the band VIP. And those are two different things. Like the band VIP is like, well, it's either merch or a meet and greet or side stage or premium seating or something. And then the venue VIP is like, oh, you get access to this cabana or this canopy or this bar,
Right, right.
and you get to sit in the air condition for 2 hours and drink free beer, and you get private restrooms. And it's just like the two totally different things. And I kind of feel for the fans that have to deal with all this crap. So that's why whenever like, the times that they ask me like, well, what do you think about the pricing of this? I'm like, let's try to keep it as, as like, as reasonable as possible. The last thing I want to see is Rob Zombie was the last person I saw to see $50 shirts, dude. And I cannot believe that we're at $50 shirts. It's unreal. So I feel for the fans, and I always try to, put my 2 cents in and be the voice of reason when I can.
Dude, I remember back in the promoter days, just probably 10 years ago, I had Sebastian Bach in a 500 cap club. 500 cap club, and he's selling shirts for $40. And I'm just like, God damn, dude. Like, just, oh my God, man, ridiculous.
Yeah, bold move, man. Like I said, that used to be like a kind of like a maybe like an unwritten rule of like a tier system. Like if you're playing clubs, shirts are 20. Shirts used to be like $25, but yeah, if you're playing clubs, 25. If you're playing theaters, 30. Then if you're playing, arenas, 35, 40, and then it just kind of went up from there. But now it's just like people don't give a shit, man. It's like $40 shirts in clubs just because everyone else is doing it.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's just crazy. But I went over the summer. I since the last episode, I went and saw the Rolling Stones at a stadium, and dude, the merch was just insane, and it was unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, a million people, the merch stands everywhere, and just I can't even imagine how much money they were making because their shirts were $50 each.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
Just crazy.
And then
Crazy.
yeah, then there's for people who don't know, there's this whole tax on top thing that started post COVID, and to try to briefly explain what it is say people complain and say that Live Nation doing it, and this one is not on Live Nation. This one is on the tour or the band that's selling the stuff. But it just happened to me with Megadeth, which is another band I just went to go see recently that wasn't doing an anniversary tour and just absolutely crushed it. But I'll get to that in a second. But I go up to buy. I'm at the show, and I'm like, I already know because I see this hoodie. I see the merch. There's like an Instagram page called Merch Report. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but like,
No.
yeah, somebody decided to make this Instagram page, and like like everybody around the country knows that like about Merch Report. So like they take pictures of the merch at like the start of the tour or whatever tour they can get to, and they submit it to Merch Report. And so you can go to Merch Report, the Instagram page, and like almost every tour that is out right now, their merch is on the Instagram page, so you can see what they have.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I see this hoodie on merch report and I'm like, I'm getting it for sure, man. Whenever Megadeth comes through, it says 75 bucks. I go up and I'm like, hey, you guys take cash? You take card? He was like, we take both. And I was like, I'll take that hoodie. And he's like, 82. And I'm like, says 75. What are you talking about? And I was like, is there tax? And he's just like, yeah, there's tax. I was like, I'm paying cash though. And like, he was just like, yeah, there's tax on cash and card. Like typically this whole tax thing is only if it's card, but to try to simplify that, there's always been tax on shirts, always. So people just don't realize that when you were paying 30 bucks a shirt or even 25, there was tax, but it was tax included. So the price of the shirt is, 22 and some change plus tax equals 25, but that's just really how it's supposed to work. But post COVID, they started doing this tax on top thing because, everything was cashless. You were only paying with card. So it was an easy way to make the shirt, instead of it being $40 tax inclusive, it's $40 tax on top. And now you're paying $43 and some change. And we're just going to swipe your card. And I mean, we don't have to give you any coins. We don't have to give you any dimes, nickels, worry about that. It's all cashless. So that started to be a whole thing too. So now some people are paying tax on top for all their shirts, but to do tax on top with cash is a bold move, and they basically just round it up to the next dollar so they don't have to be counting coins out. But it's just another little irritating thing that's there to, upset people and make things more expensive and make the concert experience just that much more of a struggle.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. And with the whole, all these venues being cashless now, it's great and all, whatever. Most people don't carry cash hardly anymore. But the problem is that, especially if you're going to what's normally the arenas and stadiums and stuff that are cashless, and you go to park in a parking deck, but they only take cash. But it's like you show up to the show ready to for everything to be cashless, but to park your car you got to have cash, and it just all these things that in one way, yes, they simplify certain problems, but then they open up a whole new set of problems. It's I don't know, man. I sound like a bitter old man, but I do think things need to go back to the way they were, like even 10, 15 years ago.
No, things, you're right, man. That's a whole other aspect that I completely forgot about. And damn, that could be a whole other conversation for another day. But I mean, to that's a great point though. Is like, I've dealt with, I've done VIP meet and greets as well, and I've sell merch on some tours, so I've had a lot of fan interactions. And I used to get irritated with some of these questions, like, "Do you take cash?" Because it'd be like, "The hell are you talking about? Like, who doesn't take cash?" But it's like, you can't blame these people anymore. They don't know what to expect, and like, I went to that Megadeth show, and like, they have that like know before you go email that they send you, like, for all that information or whatever, and it said like, venue is completely cashless, and then like it had like a little asterisk that said like, except for merch. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Right.
it's just like, because they, whether the venue is cashless or not is, you just never know. And like you said, sometimes the merch is an exception because the merch is kind of its own entity in a way. But it just gets confusing for fans because, like you said, well, some people bring cash because they were like, well, I just thought that was better. People like cash and they don't realize that that's the rules. And then sometimes it's the exact opposite where they, you know, you just don't know what to expect anymore. And I feel for them, man, because they don't know what's going to win anymore.
Well, you really got to have both. And the other problem with cashless, not to go down a whole rabbit hole, but is remember, I don't know what it was, 6 months or so ago, there was that whole AT&T outage, and so like nobody had internet or whatever. And it's like, well, what happens when you go to a show and because you can't run a card if you don't have a
Yeah.
connection. So it's like, what happens if there's a huge outage? There's 20,000 people trying to buy a fucking T-shirt. You won't take cash, but you can't take cards now either. It's just such a headache. So it really is best to just have cash and card at all times.
Yeah, it just makes it harder on people and makes it more stressful. And I've been in that situation where we're on tour and we're a cashless tour, and that does go down where it's like the Wi-Fi goes down, the internet goes down, and it's like, oh shit, all of a sudden we can't take payments, and people are like, well, can I just give you cash? And I'm like, I can't. Like, I'm not supposed to, and not only am I not supposed to, it's a long story, but I don't have a way to document it properly. Like, we are cashless for this tour. That's how everything's set up. Like, I just can't take cash from you. I know you want to pay for it, but we just can't move on that easily. And it just causes it's just an issue. And you're right, man. It's like things used to be much more simple. And like I said, not just for the prices, but for everything that we're talking about. It's like it's just it's such a hassle to go to a concert these days. That's all I can say. That's the best way to put it, I guess, is just like it's just a hassle. You can't just get up, go buy a ticket, buy a shirt, and leave. It's like you really have to jump through all these hoops just to be able to enjoy yourself. And yeah, I went to that Megadeth show. I bought tickets. I was just like, I ended up knowing a lot of people on that tour, but with guest lists, it's never guaranteed. And I was going with like a group of 5 total people. It's like I'm not going to ask for 5 tickets. Like, just not going to be that guy. So I bought tickets. If it's a show I really want to see, I bought tickets. Paid full price for a hoodie and everything. And yeah, that wasn't an anniversary tour, but I mean, it was Megadeth, and it's like one of my favorite bands. And if you haven't seen that tour and you have an opportunity to, I highly suggest going and seeing it, man. That was one of the best shows I've seen in a long time, and definitely one of the best Megadeth sets they've ever done, man. And played a handful of deep cuts. They didn't play "Go to Hell," but they did play "Angry Again." I know "Go to Hell" is a song that you'd want to hear, isn't it?
Dude, that's my favorite Megadeth song. Because I'll tell you why real quick is because when I was 3 years old, every single day I would watch Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and there's a scene in that movie when the evil Bill and Ted robots are pushing the real Bill and Ted's up the cliff, and the bass line,
Hell
the
yeah.
intro bass line to Go to Hell is playing. And dude, that bass line to me, I mean, Peace Sells is an iconic bass line, but Go to Hell is just as awesome, if not even better, man. I love that song, but I don't think I'll ever get to. I doubt they'll ever play that song.
Yeah, that's probably the first place I ever heard that song too. I mean, was definitely I remember that scene from that. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I know exactly what scene you're talking about. I used to watch that movie as a kid as well. But
That's
yeah,
my favorite movie of all time.
yeah, and that you're right. That bass line is just iconic bass line, But I mean, they didn't play it on the show I saw, but I know they've been switching it up every night. They'll play the same, maybe 9 or 10 songs, but then the other 5 or 6, they're switching it up. And I got to hear them play, "Angry Again." They played "Skin on My Teeth," which is the opening track off of Countdown. They played "Countdown to Extinction" itself. They played "Dread and the Fugitive Mind." Like they switched it up, and it's like, damn, dude, Mustaine being 62, multiple lineups later, I just got to give it to the guy, man. He gets a lot of shit for being, a piece of shit, as people know him to be. But goddamn, dude, that dude's the man. I don't know. I can't get over it, man. He's just a living legend, man. I don't know. When I see him, I'm like, dude's a living legend. So yeah, I'm glad I went, man. Money well spent, dude. Killer show, man. And Dirk on drums. Is it Timu? I don't know how you say his name, but that dude.
I think it's Temu Manisari, if I recall.
Yeah, Timu. Yeah, I mean, I like Kiko, man. I mean, I wish Kiko was there. I wish Ellefson was there. But I got no complaints, dude. Like, they sounded just amazing for being, Jim Lomenzo is like 65 or something like that, dude. Props to them, dude, for just sounding so great, man, in 2024 after like 30 plus years of doing this.
It's probably about 40 years now, almost. When did that first album come out? Was it like 86, something like that? Yeah, no, I'm going to that show in like a month and a half. I'm super stoked. It'll be obviously my first time seeing Megadeth with Temu. No, every time I see Megadeth, it's such a great show, and I do wish Ellefson was there, but no, I love James Lomenzo, huge White Lion fan. I just love that guy, so now I'm super stoked, man.
Yeah, no, man. It's like I said, it's rare that I go to shows, man, but damn, 100% I'll pay for a Megadeth show, and I would have 100% paid, $200 for that Slipknot show if I could go. I mean, I never got to see him on that first tour. I got to see him on the Iowa tour and every time after that. But when it's a good show, man, I'll pay for it regardless of these prices, But yeah, things are just different these days, man. Like, and I'm talking about in every aspect, not only all the aspects that we just covered, but it was funny that the other day I was on Instagram and I get this ad that comes up, and it's for a ticket company called Stub Forge, I think is what it's called. And I don't know if you've seen it, but it's they will basically, since we're just in different times and you can't get a concert ticket, you give them the information of like the event that you're going to go to, and they'll print you tickets and mail them to you. It's a fake ticket. Like,
No fucking way.
for real. So, like,
Oh my god.
for example, that show I just saw, that Megadeth show, I'd be like, yeah, Megadeth, Austin, Texas, Germania, whatever. Like, and they'll send me tickets, and they're cheap. They're like $6 a ticket, but it's a piece of paper. But it's like, you know,
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I bet you they're making money, dude, because there's people that like they want those concert tickets, but it's been years since we've had physical tickets, even before COVID and all that. But dude, I saw that and I was like, what the hell is this? But yeah, yeah, you used to be able to get a concert ticket and you would collect it. You'd have like people would have like just stacks and stacks of concert tickets, and it was kind of cool to have them. People would collect them, and now like it's just ridiculous that your phone is your ticket. That's what they always say, or you can print it out on a piece of paper. It's like the lamest thing, man. It's just man, the feeling is just gone, of going to a concert, to have the actual tickets in your hand. I don't know, man. Every little detail is just gone, but concerts are so lame these days, man. Like, you don't get a ticket. The crowds almost never move, man. I mean, instead they record the entire performance and upload it to YouTube. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, I remember, there was absolutely no way that you could be within the first, I say rows, but I just mean like the first 10 people deep, 10, maybe even 15
Yeah.
people deep. There was no way that you could be at any concert. I remember Zombie, Manson, Slipknot, Korn, Meshuggah, anything. Like, you could not be in the front without like bracing yourself, like, to like just hold on for like what could happen, dude. I remember I saw an American Head Charge show, and they opened for Cold Chamber in like 2002, 2003, and like I was like, let's check this band out, dude. They opened up with All Wrapped Up, dude, and I fell like 3 or 4 times trying to get out of there. Dude, I swear, dude, these crowds. I remember I saw Stone Sour, and like these crowds, like they just start pushing, dude. It's just the way it was, dude. You're gonna fight for the front row, and there was no phones, and it's just like dude. I'd be like in 8th grade, and I'd just be falling over on people. It's just picking each other up, and it's like, I'm not even talking about moshing. I'm just talking like the crowd itself just sways. Like, people are just pushing you, and you're swaying, and you're like, oh shit, like I don't know which way I'm going, and it's like you get pushed over, and you just fall, and it's just like, dude, I remember I was on tour with Behemoth a few years ago, and it's like Kabuki drops, Behemoth comes out, and it's just like people in the front row, like, yeah, this rocks. You know what I mean? Like, dude, this is like a black metal. Oh my god, dude, this shit just frustrates me, dude. Like, it's just different times, and that's all I can say.
Well,
But
you used to not even be able to. I mean, obviously, you weren't able to film. You weren't able to have your camera out or whatever. And now it's, there's still a few bands that I guess that are a little anal about that kind of thing. But yeah, everybody is too busy watching the show through their screen, And then it just doesn't even make sense to me, because it's like, who actually goes back and watches everybody's so concerned about filming it. But it's like, what are you going to do? Maybe show it to some people tomorrow, and then it's just going to sit on your phone forever. I remember the first time I went to a big concert, my mom took me, and it was Motley Crue, and the one of the employees at the venue, she saw my mom had her camera out, and we were in the pavilion, and she comes up to my mom, and she goes, listen, I'm not going to say anything, but the kind of bands that are playing here tonight, these are the kind of bands that'll come out and pee on you if they see you have a camera. And I'm like, Jesus God.
oh god,
It's
yeah,
just, things have totally changed, man.
yeah. No, I mean, you're right, man. I remember I used to have to sneak in disposable cameras whenever there was a chance I was going to meet somebody, and yeah, man. I remember I met Corey Taylor. I had a camera, and Rob's mom actually took us to the show. Drummer from Shattered Sun, and she knew I had a disposable, and I was like, no, I'm gonna hide it. Like, I used to put it in my boxers, and like just walk in with it. And but it was like, no, if I'm gonna meet somebody, I need to have a picture. And this is how old I am. Yeah, disposable cameras were the only option. I mean, this is 8th grade for me, 2000. I don't know, probably 2002, something like that. And she was like, no, leave that camera here. I'm responsible for you. You're not going to go into that concert with a camera, because if they kick you out, I'm responsible for you. And, I understood. But, dude, she drops us off. Corey Taylor's there within the first 2 minutes of us stepping off, the SUV. We walk up, and I was like, I don't have that camera. And it just like, Dude, it sucked, man. That was it. If you had a camera, you got a picture. If you didn't, you didn't. And I've met a lot of bands that I just didn't have photos with, you know. But I mean, yeah, it just made for different times. And man, I really do hate to sound like that old, you know, grouchy bastard. But man, people and concerts have just, it's just not the same, man. They are pretty lame.
Let me follow up that Corey Taylor story real quick. I was just telling my fiance, I think I told her earlier today, as a matter of fact, back, this was, I don't know, probably 10, 11 years ago when Sonic Temple used to be Rock on the Range. And Corey Taylor was doing a meet and greet, and it was free. You just get in line. That's it. And so, you know, and the show was like an hour and a half from where I lived. And I get down there and I realize, I'm like, fuck, I forgot the tickets. Right. So I call my mom and I'm like, hey, can you meet me halfway? So she immediately hops in the car, meets me halfway. I get back to the venue, you know, I mean, way later than I was hoping. I do make it into the line for Corey Taylor. And back in the day, you know, 12 years ago or whatever, I was such like a Corey Taylor stan, right? And I'm in line, and there's one or two people in between me and Corey. Okay. And security comes out and they're like, all right, we're shutting this line down. And somebody else in the line was like, what about the rest of us? Because at this point, the line was not that long anymore. Dude, I shit you not, the security guy, he fucking like sidewalks, like sidesteps down the rest of the line and just flips us off. And he's like, fuck you all. And just walks away. And I'm like, God, what a dick.
Dude,
But I did end up meeting Corey Taylor years later at that awards show that both you and I were at. But I think about that from time to time, how ridiculous that was.
with the way that I know things work now, it makes me wonder if that was venue security or tour security, because that'll make a big difference. You know, I mean,
I believe it was venue security, if I believe, or if I'm
venue
correct.
security, that dude would be straight fired. I mean, that he should have been. You know, like that. Yeah, he shouldn't be telling people anything like that. I mean, but yeah, that sucks, man. I had the same thing happen with Mike Portnoy. He did a free signing at Sam Ash, you know, about 10, 12 years ago, and I was in line too, and the line was just too damn long. And he was there for a long time, like I'm talking like an hour and a half, going on 2 hours, and he was just like, I gotta go, like I got, you know, got a show to play. He was playing, they were opening up for Iron Maiden, and yeah, he stayed there.
Oh, I went to that tour.
Yeah, I didn't even get to go to the show, but I was like, well, I guess I'll do the meet and greet. But yeah, he didn't get to finish the line, so the same thing happened. But yeah, meet and greets, man. If you, I remember, not to drag this out any longer, but at Ozfest, you could meet the band if you bought the CD, it was $20. You would get a wristband, you buy the CD, and you could meet the band for $20, dude. Now, if you wanna do a meet and greet, you're talking $300, $400, and it just goes up and up and up from there. It was $375 to meet Dave Mustaine. You know, it's just you're paying a premium for everything these days.
Yeah, it was actually used to be able to do the same thing at Rock on the Range too. I was thinking it was 10, it might be 20, but yeah, they had an FYE tent, and you go in, you just buy the CD, they give you a wristband, and so yeah, I mean, I met Nikki Sixx and Steel Panther, dude. It was so cool, like doing things like that, and some of the bands would even do free meet and greets. You know, you just get in line and hope that you know the line's not too long or whatever. But yeah, everything's changed, and everything has got to be there. There's always an angle to make money, which I get it. I mean, at the end of the day, it is the music business, but it feels a lot more corporate and greedy now than even 10 years ago. You know, things have. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like 10 years from now.
No, 100%, man. It makes me kind of regret not, you know, buying some of the things I did in the past. You know, passing up some of those opportunities to miss some of the to meet some of those bands in the beginning, or buy that concert T-shirt when it was $25 and instead of 40, man. So I feel for the fans, man. But yeah, that's it for us, man. Be sure to check out the main Take Me on Tour YouTube channel for tour vlogs. I'm going on tour soon with Breaking Benjamin and Stained, like I was saying. Hopefully going to be doing some more tour vlogs there. If you're going to that tour and you see me, say what's up, but just don't make it weird or anything, you know? um, but yeah, I mean, if anybody sees me, yeah, say what's up. It would be cool to see you guys in person. If anyone is a fan of the channel, either or the podcast, either or. But check out Logan's socials, Real Logan Show on everything. Visit takemeontour.com for updates on everything, pictures, videos, socials. It's all on there. And yeah, man, this winter I'll be wearing my $75 plus tax Megadeth hoodie. So
82 bucks.
yeah, I'll be wearing my $82 hoodie, man. Definitely killer experience, man. Killer hoodie. And yeah, regardless of everything we talked about, go see these shows while you can. I mean, we are running out of time. We are living in a time where some of these bands really will not be around in the next 10 years. Maybe some of them in the next 5 years. People are in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s. Slipknot is in their 50s and still just headbanging like they were, in their 20s and 30s, man. But it's just not going to last forever. So I know it's tough, but I hope everyone gets to see these shows and their favorite bands and these anniversary tours and whatever it is that they want, and they get to go home with that merch and just live it up, man. Because with the way things are in this world, man, concerts are kind of they're supposed to be your getaway. They're supposed to be how you get away from things and how you relax and have fun. And it's like with these prices and everything, it can be stressful, and it can take away from that for sure.
My mom was just debating the other day about going to a show because she hasn't been to a show in like 10 years since she took me since I went with her to the last one. And it was Hootie and the Blowfish and Collective Soul. And she was real on the fence. She said, "Wow, I'm going to be so tired, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "You know what?" I said, "You'll always regret not going, but you'll never regret going. So if you have the opportunity, just do it, because you also never know when you're going to see these bands for the last time, whether it's on a farewell tour, or maybe it really could just any tour could be any band's last tour. Anything could happen, and concerts are important.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Reunion tour or not, anniversary tour or not, man. See these bands while you can, man. But
Even if
anyway,
they're charging tax on top for their merch.
yeah, I know it's a hard one to swallow, man. But just try to enjoy it while you can, man. That's all I can say. But yeah, check out takemeontour.com. Check out the YouTube channel. See you guys on tour, hopefully with a few updates here in the next few weeks, man. So thank you guys for listening, man. We'll see you guys next time.